In John chapter 12, Jesus has made his entrance into Jerusalem. He has entered into Jerusalem, and he was welcomed with palm branches, right? Get it? Palm Sunday. He was welcomed with palm branches. And so Jesus has entered into Jerusalem. He's entered in with these palm branches, and he's come in on his own accord, and he's celebrated by many. He's rejoiced by many, and some are excited, some are not. And he shows up on his own accord, comes in, and I find it so fascinating that it says that the people who came running to Jesus with the palm branches came because they had heard of what Jesus had done. They had heard about what Jesus had done. Now, how do they hear if somebody doesn't tell them, right? They had heard about what Jesus had done. What had Jesus done? He had just raised Lazarus from the dead. I love it because Jesus did a little trial run. Right? He's like, okay, I know what I'm going to be doing in a few days. I want to test this out. Let's try this out. So he raised Lazarus from the dead, and people that were there and saw it went and told everybody else. They couldn't keep it to themselves, but they had to share it with others. They had to tell others and to let them know. And so they find out about it. They come running to see Jesus. They greet him with palm branches. And then ultimately we see that this group of Greeks say that they want to meet Jesus, and Philip and Andrew come to Jesus. They tell Jesus, hey, there's some people out here. They want to meet you. And this is what Jesus says in John 12:23. Whoa. I was like, see it going up there, and I'm like, whoa, it's happening behind me. Because everybody's like looking at the screen more than they normally do. So I get it. All right, John chapter 12, verse 23. It says, Jesus replied, this hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly, I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. Anyone who loves their life will lose it, while anyone who hates their life in this world will keep it for eternity. Whoever serves me must follow me. Now notice, there are no parameters here. Right? He just said, whoever serves me must follow me. He doesn't say whoever serves me must follow me when it's convenient. He doesn't say whoever serves me must follow me when they want to. He doesn't say whoever serves me must follow me when it falls in line with what they want to do, when it's easy, when it's comfortable. It just says, when you serve me, you follow me. And a lot of us have fallen into comfortable Christianity. Right? Convenient Christianity. If it's convenient, then I'll follow God's commands. If it's comfortable, then I'll do what God said. But it's not about convenience and about comfort. It's just about doing it. It's not just letting his principles guide our lives when it's comfortable, but it's about doing it all the time. He said, my servant, those who serve me, they follow me, period. Then he said, whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, my servant also will be. My Father will honor the one who serves me. Now my soul is troubled, and what shall I say? I love that Jesus said this because it is okay to feel troubled. It is a lie for us to tell each other that if you follow Jesus, you can never be troubled. If you follow Jesus, it will always be easy. If you follow Jesus, you'll always like everything that happens. Even Jesus said, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart. And here Jesus himself is saying, my heart is troubled. So if you're here today or if you're online and you've been feeling troubled and you've been feeling guilty because you feel troubled, I need you to know it's okay. It's okay to feel troubled, as long as you go to the right answer. Jesus says, my soul is troubled. What shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? This is what I'd have been saying, right? I've been like, Father, the jig is up. Let's call it off. I thought this was an Isaac and Abraham situation, right? I thought I was going to get to this point and you were going to come down and I was going to look and there was somebody else to sacrifice their life. But I'm still here, right? Be like, this is it. Jesus says, should I say, Father, save me from this hour? Which lets you know that Jesus had a choice. Because if he would have said it, God would have done it. But Jesus chose to go through with it. And he said, no, it was for this very reason I came to this hour. Father, glorify your name. And then a voice came from heaven. I have glorified it and will glorify it again. What a somber moment for Jesus here, right? He's just entered into Jerusalem to celebration, to applause, to cheers, to all these things, to palm branches, right? People letting him know that they were happy to see him. But now he has this moment in time where he reflects on the days that are ahead. And he starts to think about all that is to come in the moments ahead. So he's had celebration, but now Jesus gets a little melancholy on us, and he starts to think about all the things that he is about to endure and that he is about to go through. From the time that Jesus entered into Jerusalem until the time it was all done, the people around Jesus that loved him and cared for him were trying to talk him out of it. They were trying to convince him not to do it, because the reality is nobody prefers pain over peace. We don't prefer trouble over ease. We don't prefer death over life. And so those around Jesus who loved Jesus and cared for Jesus, they wanted to help protect him from all that was ahead. They wanted to protect him from what he was about to encounter and what he was about to go through. However, Jesus knew that the reason that he was here would outweigh the pain of the season. He knew that the season that he was in, the painful season he was going through, was only momentary to prepare him for the reason that he was here. Jesus knew ultimately he was here to bring salvation and to glorify the Father. He said, should I say, God, finish this thing? No. He said, I've come to glorify the Father. I've come to glorify him. And we oftentimes in our lives, we get in the midst of situations and we begin to wonder why. Why the pain? Why the struggle? Why the adversity? Why the confusion? Why the uncertainty? Why am I going through what I'm going through? And the temptation is to run from whatever's bringing adversity. The temptation is to say, you know what, this is getting too difficult. I got to just quit. It's getting too painful. I got to give it up. It's getting too hard. I got to stop. But Jesus said, no, I'm going to push through this thing because the reason that I'm here is greater than the season that I'm in. And what we have to realize is what if the thing that you've been running from, what if the thing that you thought was an ending, that you thought was bringing your demise, was really the very reason that you were here? What if the thing that you've been trying to avoid, that you thought was an ending, was actually the beginning to God being able to fulfill what he wanted to do in and through your life? So this morning on this Palm Sunday, I want to talk to you on that subject. I want to talk to you for this very reason. For this very reason. If you're taking notes, write that down. If you're watching online, tap it in the chat. For this very reason. Let's pray together. God, I thank you for today. And I thank you that we have the opportunity to come today and to celebrate your entrance into Jerusalem, to give your life for us to kickstart Holy Week. And Lord, I pray that you would help us not to just view it as just going through the motions, as just doing our duty as followers of Jesus, but Lord, I pray that you would help us to reflect on the magnitude of the moment, to reflect on the beauty of the moment, the sacrifice. And I pray that you would speak to our lives, help us to hear what you want us to hear today. Lord, I pray that you would help nobody to see and hear from me, but to only see and hear from you. And I thank you for it in Jesus' name. And everybody said, amen. Now, how many of you have ever had this happen in your life? You had something in your life that you needed to do, right? You needed to do it, but you didn't want to do it. Anybody ever had that in your life? Like, I need to, but I don't want to. And whenever we have moments like this, there's just tension. Whenever we have these situations where I need to, but I don't want to, it's the tension. Because I need to, but I don't want to. I need to do this thing, but I don't want to do this thing. And it creates this tension in our lives, especially as we get into adulthood. right? As we become adults, it really grows on us where we need to, but we don't want to. And the reason is because when we're kids, you kind of have no choice, right? If mom or dad tell you to do something, you got to do it. So then we become adults and we're like, listen, if I don't have to, if I don't want to, then I'm not going to. Because when you're kids, you just do it because you have to, right? Like you need to go to school. You don't want to go to school, but you need to go to school. So you're made to go to school. Or you need to apologize to the person whose feelings you hurt. You don't want to apologize, but you need to, so you're made to. You need to go places with your parents. You don't always want to go places with your parents, but you need to, so you're made to, right? So then we become adults, and it's like, if I don't want to, I'm not going to. Yeah, some of us admit our stubbornness. It's like, if I don't want to do this thing, I'm not going to do this thing. Nobody's going to make me do this thing. And that was me a few weeks ago. I willingly went and got a physical or like a health screening thing, right? And I figured just, there was nothing wrong, but I just figured I love my wife, I love our kids, love our family, we love our church. I don't want to have health problems and not know it just because I haven't been to the doctor since I was 18 years old. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the doctor, just make sure everything's good to go. It's been 14 years, I'm probably fine, but it's like double the age I was, so let's just check it out. So I went to the doctor, they ran my blood work, and they called me with the results, and I expected, my blood pressure to be a little bit high, to be honest with you, because a lot of times on Sunday afternoons, no idea why, but on Sunday afternoons, I just get headaches, and I can't help it. I think it's coffee or whatever, and I can't get rid of it, so I thought maybe blood pressure, but my blood pressure was perfect. Right? Which was amazing. My sugar was perfect, which was amazing. And then we're about to get off the phone, and in passing, the lady just says, your cholesterol is a little bit elevated, but it's going to be okay. We'll see you back in 6 months. And I said, whoa! Right? I started freaking out because I've always been 10s across the board. No problems whatsoever, like the bill of health. So I said, whoa! You can't just drop a bomb on me and then just hang up? So she said, it's okay, it's not a big deal, it's just minor. She said, just make sure you're exercising and maybe try not to eat so many carbs. Okay, 2 things I need to do, but I don't want to do, right? Like, I don't really mind, the exercising thing, it's okay. I already exercised a little bit, add a little bit more, fine. But telling me I can't eat any carbs, that's like a huge deal. I live by the 3 C's, y'all. Christ, coffee, and carbs. It's how I live my life. And she just told me I got to take one of the pillars of my way I live on a daily basis. She's like, I need you to stop eating carbs. So, of course, I told Nicole. Naturally, she was like, you know what? It's okay. She downplayed it, okay? She downplayed it. And she's a nurse. So, realistically, I'm kind of like, I'm good. Because if something happens to me, she's there, right? She's going to take care of me. It's just going to be like a miracle. She just saved my life. So, I'm not worried about it. So, I tell her she downplays it. But I think she did it because she knows me and she knew I was spiraling. So if she freaked out, then I'm really gonna freak out because the nurse is freaking out. So she was just like, oh, it's all good, no problem. But a couple weeks later, she's smart. My wife is smart, she knows her husband. A couple weeks later, she comes around and we're sitting there, we're eating dinner, and she said, I got a question for you, but I don't want you to make fun of me, and I want you to be honest. And I'm like, oh, God. I'm praying. She don't ever do this. I'm like, what happened? You wrecked the car? Like, what happened? And she said, what do you think if we started eating a carb-free vegan meal once a week? And I just looked at her. And then when I gathered my thoughts, I was like, if we don't eat carbs or meat, then what are we going to eat? And, I don't understand. So there's this tension there, right? Of I know I need to. Because listen, I get it. Eating vegan and carb-free would be healthier. I am not disputing that. I get it. If you're on that roll, I commend you because I know it's healthier. I'm trying to get there. But it's hard. And I told Nicole, I said, it's just this tension of I know I need to, but I love tacos. So it's hard to be willing to say, that's the thing. But I told her, I said, listen, because I love our family, because I love you, you got me eating vegetables now. You got me eating fruit. I'll eat anything but collard greens. Don't me. She's got me eating all these things, right? So I'm like, listen, I'm trying to be healthier. I'm trying to be better. So I will do this. I said, I will embrace the tension. I will. I said, but there's tension. I will embrace it. But I did tell her, I said, listen, I need you. I said, we'll try it one time. I said, but I need you to tell me what day we're going to do this on so that I can have a huge lunch. Because part of me thinks I'd rather just fast dinner, right? But I told her, I said, I'm gonna embrace the tension, right? I'm gonna do it. I will embrace the tension and I will do this thing. Because in our lives, the first thing I need you to see is we need to embrace the tension. The first thing Jesus did when he came into Jerusalem was he embraced the tension. A lot of times we run from the tension, but Jesus embraced the tension. We need to embrace the tension. If we are going to fully understand the magnitude of all the things that Jesus did when he sacrificed his life, if we are going to understand the fullness of all that God wants to do in our lives, we have to embrace the tension. We have to be willing to embrace the tension. Somebody say, I'm gonna embrace it. Because when tension comes, so often our first reaction is to just pivot. When the tension comes, we just wanna pivot. We wanna leave the situation. We wanna run from the moment. We wanna run from the tension. But Jesus embraced the tension. Verse 24, it said, Jesus goes, very truly I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. A kernel of wheat is great, but it has to die in order to multiply. And Jesus was willing to embrace this tension. He was willing to embrace it because Jesus wanted to bring salvation. Jesus wanted to bring salvation to this world, but Jesus did not want to die. Don't put them together. He wanted to bring salvation, but Jesus did not want to die. However, he needed to die because if he did not die, then he could not bring salvation. If he did not die, then the work could not be finished. If he did not sacrifice his life, then it wouldn't have taken place. Likewise, there are some things in our lives that we need to do in order to see the fullness of all that God has for us, but that doesn't mean we always want to. And there's tension. There's tension between what we want and there's tension between what God said. There's tension between the route that we wanted our lives to take and the route that God directed our lives to take. There's tension between the way that we wanted things to play out and the way that God orchestrated it to play out. There's tension between what we think would be best and what God has said would really be best. And even more so than those, there's tension between what we think we're given things for and what we're really given things for. Tension between why we think that we were given our life, our family, our influence, our finances, etc., and the reason we were really given our life, our family, our finances, influence, etc. There's this tension between the two. And I wonder if you've ever noticed this. Have you ever noticed how we celebrate when God blesses us with something until we realize that it actually has a greater purpose to play out? You notice this? Like just celebrate because God blessed you with influence. And now you're influencing other people's lives and you're able to go places you couldn't go before and you're able to move up the chain on your job. You've got this influence and we celebrate that. Like, man, I'm so glad God gave me the influence. Until you realize he did not give you influence just so that you could build your ego. He didn't just give you influence so you could move up the chain and tell everybody how amazing you are. He gave you influence so that he could work through you in higher places. Or we celebrate because God blesses us financially and then we're like, yes, until we realize that we are blessed to be a blessing. not to just stockpile it for ourselves and hold on to it for ourselves. And if we hold on to everything that happens in our lives, everything that comes into our lives, the way that we want it to be, then that is all that it's ever going to be. If you hold on to the relationship that God sent into your life and you won't speak to them truth in love because you don't want to lose it, then that relationship is going to stay as shallow as it's always been. If God blessed you with something in your life and you're like, I can't afford to lose it. I can't risk losing it. But God's saying, I need you to do something with it. Then that is all that it will ever be. But when we are willing to release it for God to use, that is when it fulfills its purpose. When we're willing to say, God, do what only you can do through this thing, then it fulfills its purpose. If Jesus would not have been willing to sacrifice his life, then the miracles that he accomplished while he was on this earth is all that there ever would have been. If he wouldn't have been willing to sacrifice his life, then our lives on this earth would be done when we took our last breath. But because he was willing to sacrifice his life, it made way for the greatest miracle of all time, which was his resurrection and our salvation. But it never would have happened if Jesus would have been like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. I don't feel like it today. We like to pretend as if Jesus woke up like stoked to go to the cross. Like he woke up and went and gave everybody a high five, like this is the best thing ever. If Jesus would have woken up and said, no, you know what, I did, man. I thought this was just a test. You know, I thought that we were just trying to see how things played out, but I don't really want to go through with it. We never would have seen the fulfillment of what his life was here for. And that's the tension of the moment. The tension between our preference and God's direction. The tension between what I prefer and what God designed. The tension between how I want it to play out and the way God called for it to play out. That's the tension. This is a tension on a daily struggle, right? Some of us, this is like a daily tension. It's like, God, I know what I need to do, but it's not what I want to do. I know what I ought to do, but I'd rather do something else. I know that I need to be going and doing that thing, but I really want to go and do this thing. Even Jesus had this tension. And if you don't believe me, read Matthew 26:39, where he cried out and prayed, Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. Jesus is like, I want salvation to come, but I don't want to die. It's going to be painful. It's going to hurt. It's going to cost a lot. I don't want to. If it's possible at all, let this cup pass from me. Even, y'all understand, I'm talking about Jesus, right? I'm not talking about your buddy. I'm not talking about your parents. I'm not even talking about your grandparents, great-grandparents. I'm talking about Jesus himself said, I don't really want to have to do this, if at all possible. He did not want to. It was not his preference, but he did it anyways. He did it anyways. Jesus embraced the tension, and he did it anyways. Even though it was not convenient, even though it was not the way he probably would have designed it, he was willing to do it anyways. He embraced the tension, and the next thing he embraced the inconvenience. That's the next thing I want you to write down, is he embraced the inconvenience. We got to embrace the inconvenience. You're like, what inconvenience? I'll read it to you. Verse 26 says, whoever serves me must follow me. Whoever serves me must follow me. And where I am, my servant also will be. My Father will honor the one who serves me. Whoever serves me must follow me. That's the inconvenience. Are you saying it's inconvenient to follow Jesus and serve the Lord? Yes. But you never heard a pastor tell you that? Yes, it is inconvenient. It is not always convenient. We do not talk about this enough in church. It can be inconvenient to follow Jesus and serve the Lord. It can be inconvenient. It can feel to our human selves like it is inconvenient at times. Because you mean, and instead of going around and doing all these things, I got to get my act together? Was that convenient to your flesh? No. It is not always convenient to us to follow Jesus and to serve the Lord. We don't talk about this enough in church. We like to pretend that it's always butterflies and that it's daisies, tiptoeing through tulips, as Dad liked to say, that it's easy and convenient, as if following Jesus is always convenient and very easy for us to do with no problems and no adversity. But it is not always convenient in our lives. It does not always feel convenient. You hear how quiet it is in here right now? Because there's half people who are like, I can't believe he just said that. And then there's some people who are like, oh my goodness, he's so right. It's not always convenient. We would like for it to be convenient. We may have convinced ourselves that it was convenient, but it is rarely, if ever, convenient to follow Jesus and to serve the Lord. If it were convenient, everybody would do it. If it were convenient, everybody would do it. It would be easy to do it. It would be simple. Everyone would want to do it. Do you think that it was convenient for Jesus to sacrifice his life on the cross when he could have ended every single person around there with a word? You did. You did. You slapped me. You definitely did. I'm going to change places with that guy. He's up there. Do you think it was convenient for Jesus to be on the cross? No. But he did it anyways. It is not always convenient. It's not always convenient to pray on a daily basis. In our schedule, we may need to sacrifice some things so that we can do that, so that we can put him first. It may not always be convenient for us to get our act together, for us to live right, to make the right decisions. It may not always feel convenient to bite our tongue and to instead speak words of love. It may not always feel convenient to turn the other cheek. It may not always feel convenient to faithfully attend church. It may not always feel convenient to serve, which is why so many do not. It's why so many do not. And I'm getting some looks, and it's okay, because I'm telling you, I'm proving it to you right now. It is not always convenient to do it. If it was convenient for Jesus, he never would have had to say, if possible, let this cup pass from me. Just saying, this isn't really, I'm just saying, I want to do it. I want to bring salvation, but if it's possible, can we come up with another route? It is not always convenient. Following Jesus is not a life of convenience. It is a life of obedience. Never did Jesus say, follow me and be convenient at times. He said, follow me and obey me. It is not always convenient, but it is always a time of obedience. It's becoming kingdom-focused instead of me-dom-focused. Like, is me-dom a word? No. But you get the point. We made it one. Following Jesus' footsteps, serving the Lord is not always convenient, but it is always worth it. It's not always convenient, but it is always worth it. Hear me. It is worth it on the mountaintops, and it is worth it in the valleys. Following Jesus is always worth it. No matter where it leads you, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you feel like you're facing, it may not feel like where you thought you would be or where you wanted to be, but it is always worth it to keep following him and his direction and his guidance. Jesus said, I'm going to embrace the tension. I'm going to embrace the inconvenience. And the last thing he said is, I'm going to embrace the hour. Got to embrace the hour. Look what Jesus said in verse 27. He said, now my soul is troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? No, it was for this very reason I came to this hour. Jesus said, listen, my soul is troubled. My soul is troubled. This isn't easy for me. But he said, It was for this very reason I came to this hour. She's like, listen, my soul is troubled and this is difficult, but I can't stop now. I've come too far because for this very reason, I was brought to this hour. He said, this is why I'm here. For this hour, this moment, this thing that's painful, this thing that isn't easy, this thing that is a struggle. This is why I'm here. Jesus knew that the reason he was here would eventually outweigh the pain of the season. He knew that the reason he was on this earth would outweigh the pain that he was going through. There is a reason. There is a reason that God has led you wherever he's led you. There is a reason that God has orchestrated your footsteps for you to be where you are today. Now, if you disobey him and end up somewhere else, may not be a reason for that. But if you're following him, if you're following his direction, if you're obeying him, if you're saying, God, this isn't what I thought it'd be, but I'm going to do it anyways. This isn't how I thought it'd play out, but I'm going to do it anyways. This isn't how I thought my family would be, but I'm going to obey your word anyways. If you follow after him, there is always a reason. There is a reason. The most difficult moments become the most miraculous of moments when we embrace them. The moment that seems the most difficult, most painful, most trying becomes miraculous when we're willing to embrace the moment instead of running from the moment. And hear me on this very clearly, and I'm going to close out. This is not always easy. This is not always easy. In fact, honestly, because I believe in being honest, I'm going to tell you the truth. Honestly, there are always more visible reasons to run from it than there are to embrace it. There are more visible reasons to run from the calling God has on your life, to run from the direction he is leading you, to run from what he said to do, to run from what his word to do. There are always more visible reasons to run from it than to embrace it. But embrace it anyways. Embrace the hour anyways. And you're like, why would I embrace it here? Jesus, this is what I love about Jesus. Jesus always gives us the answer. Jesus always gives us the answer. I joke a lot of times, Jesus is the answer for everything in church, but it's true. It's all Jesus. It's all about him. So he always gives us the answer because Jesus said, listen, my soul is troubled, but I'm going to go through with it anyways because for this very reason, I was brought to this moment. For this very reason. Some of us, the very thing that you've been avoiding is the very reason that you're here. The very thing God's wanting to do in your life is the very reason that you are here. I had a moment a few weeks ago where I had to hang out with some people that I did not want to hang out with. Being honest. I love people. I love all people. But there's just sometimes, I just want to be at home. You know what I'm saying? Where are my introverts at, right? You need some decompression time. There's sometimes I just want to be at home, but I had to go out and do some things with some people that I did not want to do. And while we were out, I got to talking to this one guy who I did not really know that well, who I thought hated my guts because of the way he was looking at me the whole time. I'd never met him before. He was just in this group. And we got to talking, and then I never told him I was a pastor. Okay, I don't do that. I don't tell people what I do because then they act weird. Like, what's up, man? Hey, yeah, I'm a pastor. Or then they'll be like, oh, yeah, I've been reading my Bible. I've been praying. I've been, Cool. Like, I just said hi, So I don't tell people. And so I'm talking to this guy. And out of the clear blue, he just says, I don't know why, but you seem like somebody I can trust. He said, I got to let you know that I've been going through such a time of depression and such a time of anxiety where I don't want to be around anybody. I don't want to be on this earth. I don't want to have to go home. I don't want to see my kid. I don't want to see my wife, whatever. I don't know their situation. The person at home with him. He said, I don't want to see any of it. He said, I'd rather just not be here anymore. He said, I didn't want to come tonight. And I was like, I didn't either. And I was able to talk to him in that moment and to begin to share with him some things that I had been through in my life. And come to find out the things that I had been through were similar to things he had been through, and it's the reason he's been feeling this, and it's been years for him. And all of a sudden it has started to bubble up, and he got to a place where he said, I don't even know that I want to be on this world anymore. I didn't want to be in that place that night. But I was obedient, and I went, and because of it, I looked at it, and I was like, you know what? I told him, I said, you're the reason I'm here tonight. You're the reason. I said, I didn't want to come, but you're the reason that I'm here tonight. See, the moments in your life when you think you just want to run, when you think you want to quit, when you think you want to give up on it, when you think you want to stop, more often than not, those are the moments that have the very reason you're there in the first place. And the enemy's trying to get you to run from it, to avoid it, to quit on it, so that you can't see the fulfillment of the reason that you're there. Jesus is on the cross. He's like, listen, for this very reason, I'm here. No other reason. I'm not running from. I've done a lot of great things. I've done a lot of amazing things, but this is the reason that I'm here. And then he says this in verse 28. He said, Father, glorify your name. So Jesus in 27, he says, shall I go away? Shall I say, Father, save me from this hour? No, it was for this very reason I came to this hour. Father, glorify your name. Then a voice came from heaven and said, I have glorified it and will glorify it again. Jesus said, for this very reason, Father, glorify your name. This is the reason. This is always the reason. I know we have our agendas. I know we have our desires. I know we have the reason that we think it's there. But this is always the reason. His glory. His glory in everything that we do. It is all about his glory. God, may you be glorified in this season. May you be glorified in this situation. May you be glorified in this trying time, in this trouble, in this painful moment. God, I will embrace the tension. I will embrace the inconvenience. I will embrace the hour, because this reason I'm here, so that you can be glorified, so that your name can be lifted up, so that you can receive all the glory. It's not about us. It's not about our preferences. It's not about our agendas. It's not about our convenience. It is about him receiving the glory in the midst of everything that we do. Every word, every interaction, every decision, every activity. God, for this very reason, I'm here, so that you can receive glory. God, I don't understand it. I can't explain everything that's going on around me. I don't understand everything that's going on around me. And quite frankly, I don't like everything that's going on around me. But God, may you be glorified. I have some questions when we get to heaven, but God, may you be glorified. I'm confused and I don't always have the answers, but God, may you be glorified. What would happen in your life if in the moment you were faced with adversity, instead of cursing it, you begin to say, God, what do you want to do through this moment? God, may you receive the glory in this moment. Because hear me, if there was no cross, if Jesus never went on the cross, if he never went through the pain of the cross, then we never would have had the glory of the resurrection. Jesus said, this is the reason that I'm here. Father, may you be glorified. For this very reason.